Properties. Okay. This should be good. Hi, everybody. Okay. I failed again. Oh, how are you doing? How is everybody? There we go. Let's pop out the chat. Hi, Herman. How are you doing? Hi, Steven. Hi, Brett. Hi, Kurt. Hi, Jens. Thanks for joining. Wow. Okay. Oh, no, my mic. Sorry. 1 second. There's a problem with my mic. There's always problems. What is this? No, that's the wrong thing. It's probably the setting is too loud. 1 second. Device properties. Yes. Let's pull this down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello. Yeah, that seems better. Okay. Good. I don't know why. Recently, when I plug in my microphone, it suddenly changes the setting of the volume. So now I think maybe I put it a little bit less. Let's go like this. Okay, there we go. Okay. Is it better now? Is it still too much, or? I think now it should be better, right? We can pull it down a little bit more. Just don't want it to be too quiet. I don't know why this happens. Let's see. Manage device properties. There we go. Let's set it to 80. Ho, ho, whoa. Okay. Hello. Okay, I think that's good. No, don't turn it down. I can barely hear you. You can barely hear me now? Really? T-shirt is... Yeah, the T-shirt is like, it's green, so... The sound is bad, the T-shirt is bad, everything is bad today. And on top of that, I can't really see anything because, maybe I put in some eye drops. Do I have another screen that I can show you? I'm failing so hard today, I'm sorry. Yeah, green screen, everything is like, yeah. This is from, I can't remember it again. The Last of Us 2. 1 second, let's try some eye drops here so I can see something. Oh, God. 1 second. Okay, let's hope this is getting better. Okay. Whoop. Messing it up as always at the start of my stream. Okay, so you are loud and clear. Okay, that's great. So we have fixed that. Okay, now I can see the names better. Hi, Rocco. How you doing? Hi, Hans. Sorry, Jens, not Hans. Penny, Steven, hi. Thanks for joining. Mickey, Luxurious Card Store. Okay. Hi. Jimmy, hi. Who else is here? Is the same ones? Okay. Don't share links, by the way. That's not allowed. So it's kind of automatically deleted. All right. Perfect. Good. So this time we had the challenge about the Pinterest boards. Oh, someone wants to join. Oh, 2 people want to join. Okay, cool. So let's do this. And then let's search for the challenge. And also we're going to work a little bit on the picture from last time. I did some work this time in the meantime. So I'm some steps further ahead. And I will show you what I did in the meantime because the process is kind of slow. So maybe it's not the best idea if I do this live. I'm not sure. Yeah, anyways. By the way, there's another thing I want to tell you about. And that is that a friend of mine traveled to Thailand. He's in Asia right now. And, well, I was talking with him and I was thinking about it. And it seems like a good time to travel right now to Asia. I've been to Thailand several times before. I was also thinking about going to Taiwan. And I don't know. I thought it's not that complicated to do it. You have to sit in a hotel for like 12 days or something for isolation. And after that, you can just travel around in the country. And I don't know. I'm thinking about like figuring out all the steps and maybe in 1 or 2 weeks going on a trip. which is something I've planned for a longer time, but then there was all this kind of like lockdown and pandemic and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. And I'm kind of thinking, like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. I'm always going to sit here in my chair doing these videos, and I don't know. You know what I mean? So going up road and trying to work from there seems like a good idea. I have to work from my laptop in that case, but I think that's okay. I've done my first year on that laptop, so that should be okay for the channel. I can still do all my tutorials, and on top of that, I can give you a lot of extra content. So that's also pretty cool. To be able to do all these photos and videos and like do photo projects and show you the editing and all that stuff. So that could be interesting, right? Can you ask a question about PECs? Yes, absolutely. Yes, ask something if you want to. Hi, Simon from Michigan. Hi, Mickey. Your beard and mustache has a green tint. It has? Oh, yeah, that's because of the green screen. Yeah. Did the style shoot today from 9 till 7? Oh, wow. Okay, so you did a photo shooting today? 1,150 pics? Wow, okay, that's a lot. And I'm the only one shooting this much. It's a lot, but I mean, it depends on what you have been doing. If you try a lot of different positions, I do a lot of photos also. And like, it's easy that I do like 500, 600, 700 photos because I always try to like capture different kind of positions, and then I always do like, how can I say? If the model does one position, I always do like 3 pictures, so I have like backup picture. If some photo is maybe not sharp or something, and so we do different kinds of position and we fixing things and stuff like that, so you easily end up with several hundred pictures. But yeah, don't worry about that. The only thing about that is afterwards you have to sort through all of them to see which are the best pictures. So that can be like a little bit much. Hi, Alfredo from Mexico City. How you doing? Roadshow, I'm all for it. Okay, awesome, Kurt. Thank you. Do it, take action, says Brian. Thank you. Jens says Cambodia must be very nice. I was thinking about that too. I have been there before, but I wouldn't know where to travel there because you have Angkor and then there's Phnom Penh. But in between, is there something else? But I've been there, I think 2 or 3 times, and I've always been just to Angkor and to Phnom Penh, and that's it. And like, I don't think they have too much else. Although I don't have a driving license, so I only can go with the bus, or they also have a ship connection between those two, or a plane connection where you see even less. So yeah. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so these are the plans. And I was also worried about, like, if I travel, is there some chance of infection or stuff like that? But you have to do a lot of testing before you go, and then you are there in a hotel for 2 weeks, and you also do testing while you are in the hotel, and after that you can travel. So it's super safe that you don't bring anything with you if you go there. And there they have a lot less cases than here. Like in Vienna, it's like, in Austria, it's like 3,500 cases a day. And they have almost no cases at all. So it's a lot safer to be there than here. And also, I'm getting checked so much that there's no chance that I'm bringing anything with me at the same time, right? I don't know if I can travel to other countries while I'm there, if I can leave the country or not. That's a question I need to figure out tomorrow. I have to call the embassy tomorrow. Okay, what should we do first? Yeah, let's have a look at Affinity Photo. 1 second, let me open that up. I'm not the only adult without a driving license. Yeah, I never came around to doing it. You know, when I was younger, I always thought, like, I think self-driving cars will be around soon, so I never did it. And also, I was like growing up in large cities, so it wasn't really useful to have a car, and I didn't want to have a license, so I just drive once a year when I travel. It seems too dangerous like that. So, but now it seems like more useful, because now it really, like, the things I'm doing make more sense that I have a car, right? With all the photo stuff and stuff like that, it's more useful. If I want to combine what I'm doing right now with traveling, then a car license would be really useful, right? You can go around in other ways too, but it's more cumbersome, especially with all the equipment and stuff like that. Yeah. Brian says, Pex, I have purchased additional items from Affinity, and for the most part, they auto-install and whatnot, but 4 packs require manual download install. How do you install templates and fonts? With templates, you just have to add the folders. We can have a look, 1 second. Let me close this here real quick, and then we switch over. There we go, work live. Okay, so when you go to File and then you go to New, then you have templates over here, this one here. And you click on that, and down here it says Add Folder, so you can just add a folder of the template. So you unpack the templates basically, and then you add the folder, and then they should be here. So save the templates where they make most use for you, where you don't have to move them afterwards, right? And the only purpose of a template is it's basically just an Affinity Photo file. The purpose of a template is so you don't save over the original file. It's a little bit more safe for you to do it that way, right? And a little bit easier, because you also get a preview of the file. So have anything in here? There's, I don't know. I made these for an episode, or these photos. There's something. So you can see a preview of that. That's also useful, right? Okay. And with fonts, you just unpack them, and then there is a OTT or a TFF or something, a file in there, and you just double click on that, and then it asks you if you want to install the font. And if you're on Windows, you can select all of them at the same time. Like, you have to unpack it first, so extract the file, the zip file first, and then you select all of these like text files in there, not text file, font files in there, and then you right click and say install, and then they install all at once, because otherwise you can also go through them one by one, but that's a little bit cumbersome sometimes, right? Okay, let me open the file real quick, 1 second. Where did I put that file? Do you always also have a download folder where there's like a million files in there? And then you think you're gonna sort through them, but the only thing you do is you create a backup folder where you put all the files, so you just have one folder, and so you can see what's going on. And this is what happens with me all the time. So I have like dozens of these backup folders with tons of files I downloaded at one point, but I don't know if I still need them or not. So, and sorting through them is like really lots of work, so I never do that. So yeah, it's just a backup row of download folders filled with some stuff that I might use or not. I don't know. Okay, where's the file from last time? Oh God, and then I have these file versions. I think this is this the latest one? Oh, I made 2 different styles. We can open both of them basically. 1 second. Okay, there we go. So this is how far I came. 1 second, let me switch over. There we go. Let me also see the chat real quick pop out. Okay. I've never needed a car. Yeah, right. If you don't need a car, why have a driving license, you know? And I'm always I'm always thinking about stuff. I always was like, because if you're traveling out there on the countryside or on the highway or stuff like that, the roads are wide or there's no other cars. There's no problem to drive there. But in the city, I'm always afraid there's someone jumping out from behind a car, a child or something. I'm always thinking about stuff. About plans and things I want to do, and I was always like, I don't know if maybe I hit someone who jumps out behind a car, you know. So that was the main concern why I never kind of wanted to have a driving license. I watched your Black and White Superstyle Pro video today and played with it. It's quite impressive. Yeah, thank you very much. I think that should have sold much better than it did. Because it's just so, there's so many things you can do with that pack, with the black and white pack, but yeah, it didn't. I don't know. People in my community don't do that much black and white world apparently. By the way, I completely forgot that. 1 second. I have to switch you over to Talk View again. Talk Live. And I have to 1 second. Okay. I forgot the link. Where is it? Yeah, so that's I even like it sometimes. It's sometimes better than the silver effects in Nick Collection because it's faster to use that, and it's all the styles at the same time. You know, you can just switch on and off different stuff, and you also get to understand Affinity Photo a lot more. So that's actually pretty nice. 1 second. Where do I have that actually? There we go. So this is basically, do you need a, oh yeah, huh? Why is this $2? That's strange. Okay, so we need a different link. 1 second. Check out. Yeah, okay, good. Why does it say, oh, okay. Copy link address. So we can put this in here. 1 second, I'm almost there, and then we can look at the pictures. So if you want to have that, that's this one here. And then, was that the right one or is that the wrong one? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I need to get better at this. No, that's the right one. Okay, yes, okay, good. And then also this is the other link here, which I have to improve because I'm right now doing it with this online store. And the problem is, like if you donate something to me, I don't see it in the live stream. So I'm super happy that you do, but I can't thank you for doing it because I'm not seeing it, right? So I have to switch this over to another tool where it makes a pop-up on the screen. You know, that would be nicer. But right now, that's not happening. Let's pin this to the top. There we go. So you can use this if you want. Very much appreciated, of course. But I can't see it live. This is what I'm meaning. Okay. There we go, live. Okay, Talk View. Okay, so you can see I have done some stuff here in the picture, and mainly what I've done is, where have we left off last time? Maybe, let me see. Maybe I go here to an older file. I think this is one of the files we did last time. Yeah, with this look. Okay, and you can see here that there's all this hair floating around her head, stuff like that. So also, like, big lesson here, if you do something like that, really pay attention to these smaller details like the hair floating around. You get really excited, there's the model, and you take the photos and the position, everything you have to look for. But then on top of that, you have to look for the smaller details, because if not, you have to fix all of that afterwards, and that can be a ton of work. And these, like, this is of course a wig, which is plastic hair usually, and those are kind of hard to stroke and hard to get into position. So yeah, that's kind of not that easy to do, right? By the way, while we are at the topic, I was thinking about, because I looked at what other channels do and what other creatives do out there, and if I would focus my channel more around these kind of fantasy composition work, stuff like that, what other channels have is that they have these overlays that help you to create stuff. For example, overlays of hair and stuff like that, that is already brushed and is photographed in a nice light, stuff like that, different kinds of hair, of course. And so you could just put additional hair over here and just put, like, overlay this with another hair that's nicely stroked and put some additional hair back here, stuff like that. So you have all these kind of a very nice look in there. And other stuff like flowers and all these kind of things as overlays. And that seems like really useful, you know? So that could be an interesting concept for my channel too, that we do these fantasy composites together. I show you a lot of different techniques, and on top of that, I have all these kind of overlays that you can use to recreate stuff like that with your own ideas. It's not portraits that I'm talking about, because I don't think many people in my communities do specifically portraits, because they maybe not have the ability, the possibility is what I mean, to get models. But by the way, if you don't know where to find models, look on Facebook, for example. There's like TFP groups. Enter here TFP, and you should find different kind of groups. You see, like there, there's different kinds of. Is it called TFP in English too? I'm actually not sure what TFP actually means. What does TFP mean? It's something with time for prints. Okay, there we go. That's how easy that is. Okay, time for prints. It's not actually prints today. Usually you give the edited digital file to the model afterwards, and there's some look for a large group, and there you can post some sample pictures you've taken, and then you can find some people who want to take pictures with you, and you give them the edited picture as a payment, so you don't pay them. You still should make a contract with them. That's important for the reason that you want to be able to use the picture afterwards, you know. So and you also want to regulate how you can use the pictures of them and how they can use the pictures you have taken, right? So this is a fair kind of thing. And also, you might want to regulate, for example, how they can edit the pictures. Like, I don't want to be super strict about that. So a lot of people, they don't want the model to touch the pictures afterwards, while others, like, for example, I'm okay if the model wants to edit the picture, but at that time, I would say they have to they have to actually write that they edited the picture and I was just a photographer. Or if, for example, I take some test photos and I didn't like the photos, but they want to have the pictures, they can post them, but they don't name me as a photographer at all. Just post the pictures without naming me, because it doesn't help me in any way, you know. If it's pictures I don't want connected with what I usually do, you know what I mean? So have some regulations in there, so there's a clear communication before you start working together, right? So that's very helpful. What does Soda Pop say? 1 second. Did you have a chance to try the free Flaming Pearl plugins? I didn't try them yet. No, sorry. What? What's your name? Forticho? Okay. Thanks for the link. Just picked up the. Oh, okay. Yes, you're welcome. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So it's not that hard to get people to be your models, right? And figure out what you want to do. I would suggest, by the way, that you do like a test shooting where you just meet for a coffee and you take some pictures just to see if it feels right to work with that person. If the person likes, is like, how can I say? You might have a super good looking model, but at the same time, if it doesn't interact with how you take photos or what kind of positions you what kind of expressions you want from her, then it's kind of hard to work with that person. So there has to be some kind of chemistry between you and the model to have a certain flow, right? Especially because if they do that, they usually are not professionals. They don't have any experience or not much experience on how to get into certain positions, how to give you certain expressions, stuff like that. So it's much easier if you make a little test shooting and see, do they give you the kind of emotion, expression, the kind of thing that you want to have from that, that you want to put into your pictures, right? Okay. Okay, good. So last time we left off somewhere here with this kind of situation. And then in the meantime, I fixed some of that, as you can see. So this is another version that I did with one of my sun overlays, and this is without the sun overlay. And here I fixed most of the hairline, and I tried different kind of techniques to do that because there's a lot of hair here. And so a very easy and fast way. So at first I tried to fix every single hair, and you can do that, but it's very time intense, right, to do that. So instead what I was doing is that I duplicated the background here, not duplicated, but I used the clone brush. We can actually, let me find the layer that I'm working with here. Is this the layer? No. Oh my God. Oh, and there's another there's another fix that I was doing that I have to show you. 1 second. Oh my God. I need to name my layers. No, this is again the hair. This is the hair. Where is that part? Wait, did I? Oh, it's all in here? Is this all in here? Ah, yes, it is. Okay, cool. So I clone stamped all these parts over here. So you can see that when I turn this off, the background here is different, but it doesn't matter because it's blurry anyways. And so what I did was I really freely painted this on. You can see, so it's overlapping the parts where the hair is actually at. If we make this transparent, you can see that this goes way beyond the hairline. You can see here in these areas goes way beyond the hairline. And then you simply take a brush and you make a mask and paint it away to the other side again. And what I did was that I painted it in a way where it's sitting right at the part where you have still some single hair here. You see? So it's not here. You could also do it here, but then it's very exact and it looks very flat. It looks like a helmet. So when you use it a little bit outside of that area, you get a little bit of these individual hairs sticking out, at least like hairlines that are still following the line of the head. But they are sticking out a little bit. And sometimes you also get these individual hairs that are sticking out a little bit. But that still, from a distance, looks a lot better than when you would do it over here and just make a very straight line, because that looks very artificial. So to have it a little bit messy is quite okay. Here it's even a bit more messy, which I also find quite okay. And I did this around the head, also over here where it's a little bit blurry, because also the background is a little bit blurry. This part doesn't look good, so we maybe want to fix that. And then also I did it down here. This was a bit more messy. This is more like an area where you hope people are not looking and they look at the picture. Where can I find this? Yeah, it's down here. There was a ton of messy hair there. Kurt is writing, I was lucky today to be able to shoot with a new face from a big model agency. Wow. Okay, congratulations to that. From Amsterdam, wow. The pleasure was a bit higher than normal. The pressure was a bit higher than normal, but she was amazing. Okay, interesting. Yeah, awesome. Post some pictures in the Facebook group if you can. That would be awesome. Right. Yeah, and I just really understand with the pressure. It's always like, if there is, the higher the stakes, the bigger the pressure is, right? And then at that point, you really need some preparation where you already have good plans, what you actually want to do and how this is going to pan out, stuff like that. Yeah. So you can see here again, I copied over large parts from over here. And then also, and by the way, when I turn this on and off, you will think like, okay, oh yes, okay, there is like, I can see this part. But if you don't know that it's there, you don't really see it that much because there's also this green. So it's not that intense actually. There's some extra part here for some reason. And there should be some other part down here. I can't find it right now, strangely enough. No, this might be in front of the hair. Interesting, okay. I don't know what this is. This is turned off for some reason. But here's the same thing. I painted this over and then I made a mask for it. We can have a look at the mask, turn that on and off. Oh yeah. You can see, so this goes quite over the fingers and everything because I was kind of undecided where to put that. And then I decided, because this is also part of her arm, to make part of that visible. So that was a little bit, yeah. But hopefully people are not going to look at that too much. And also, again, this is a thing you really have to think about when you take the photos. So this was also very messy from the whole process of taking the picture, right? Okay. Hi Jay from UK. How are you doing? How are you doing? Sorry. Daylight savings hour causing confusion. I was surprised too. I was like, what is happening? Because my stove now has a different time than my phone. I was completely surprised that this is already it's already so late, right? I didn't expect that. Okay. Yeah. So, by the way, another thing I did here is that I copied some of this hair over here into that area behind her arm, because this was kind of empty. It didn't look too good. And again, I don't know where that is. By the way, I can just click on that. Shouldn't we be able to see that then? Wait a second. So let's lock this. No. Lock this too. No. I have to lock everything. Where is this part? This is the background. Is it in here? Man, I did so many layers. Okay, there's a light layer. No. I don't know where this is. That's very strange. But you can see here in that when we look at the other picture, the older version, that there is no hair here. Like, there's a very messy hair here, even more unbrushed. And this hair over here looks a little bit better. So I just copied this and put it behind the arm, like so. And then also I draw onto that some shadow with an extra layer, also behind the arm. So there's a little bit shadow from the arm on that area, right? And so this is, yeah, how I try to fix most of the hair. And now I seem to have, okay, now it's good again. All right. I also did some dodge and burn on, I think, the body in that area here on the arm too. And then also in the ear. So the ear is a little bit more three-dimensional, right? And I wish I know which kind of layer that is. Oh, there it is. Yes. Is it? No, this is the skin overlay we did last time. This is, by the way, this is kind of a nice trick. Oh, I wanted to show you the other thing I did. What was that? Can't remember. Anyways, so here, the thing I did is, oh yeah, I remember. Okay, the thing I did is I took the skin of her forehead and I just put it over here onto her ear. And then I made a mask around it. As you can see, this is the cutout from her skin from the forehead. And then I made a mask around that. So this is what we did in last live stream. And this now, with a blend mode of multiply, gives the ear, this kind of plastic elf ear here, the appearance like it's actual skin, right? And then I also did some dodge and burn here on the ear, so it's like there's more shadow on the skin, and it has like this, like, you know, like it looks more three-dimensional, right? And another thing that I fixed is, let me find that layer real quick. Yeah, this is that. Okay, so when we use the Nick Collection effect, it really exposed the hair up here. As you can see, there's no hair structure left here. But in the original picture, there was hair structure, right? So the way I did that is that I simply copied the original picture, not actually the original picture. I took the original picture and then I made a frequency separation. So I only have the high frequency, and you can see there is this high frequency layer. And then I just masked that out. So it's just on that area. You can see if I turn this on and off, that now you have this high frequency area here from the original picture. And then this is with the mask. And this is when I turn this off. And what this does is, because this is high frequency and it's linear light, like high frequency is blended with the picture, it just gives the surface texture without changing the colors below that. And so this is how I get back the hair texture up here on her head, which was overblown by the Nick collection effect, where we did this kind of color thing here, right? So these are the things that I've done in the meantime. I don't know what's going on here. Comment reply. Do not don't spam the channel. I don't know what comment you want to reply to. User in timeout. There we go. Hide this. Okay, good. All right. So yeah, don't spam the chat, please. Okay. All right. Yeah, so this is the edit right now. And then, yeah, I did this other version here where I did this overlay. I asked several people. They said they like this version here better. I kind of like this version better because it has like this orange and pink in there. And I like these kind of colors. Not pink, violet in there. I like these kind of colors. Dude, what the hell? Okay, let's kick this guy out. There we go. And then also timeout, and also what else can I do? Report. There we go. Spam. Yes. Okay, goodbye. There we go. Okay, so all right. That's that. Okay, yeah. So that's basically the editing I've done last time. I think maybe it's more useful if I do it like that, if I explain it afterwards, because the process was quite, well, a little bit time intense, especially finding out the kind of solution on what I do with the messy hair in here. Yeah. Okay. Should we do some more editing on the picture, or should we? We can also try out a little bit more with these styles here. I think I also tried other things here, like this one, which is also nice. Is maybe a little bit too much. There's one that is a little bit slighter. There's just a little bit of effect on here. There we have this kind of blue version. So what is this, by the way? Ah, here's the ear thing. So I didn't do that on the other picture. That's interesting. Oh, okay. Interesting. Ah, okay. So here I can actually show you some extra things that I haven't done here on this version yet. So this is a later version of the picture. And so first of all, what you can see here is that I simply saved everything and then merged it down to one layer. So I don't have these many layers in there. And then I can work from that point. This is what I do when I'm kind of finished with most of the steps of fixing the picture, because you can see this involves a lot of different layers in here. So we can actually close this. I can click on no here, I think. Maybe leave this one open. And then for the final touches, I have a new file which doesn't have too many layers, and there I can do all these kind of fixing steps. So like for the lighting and for the style and stuff like that, if you know what I mean. So here, let's see. Yeah. So this is what we have seen before in the other file. And then I put some different layers here where you can see I darkened the foreground, which is simply me taking a normal brush and then just making it in a large size and have a black color on that. Like, for example, this size, you make it very like hardness 0, for example, very low opacity. And then you just paint on that with black color in the areas where you want to have the picture darker. And I have this in normal blend mode, so no blend mode at all. And you can see now that I just made these areas down here a little bit darker. And then I also made the background individually darker. So I made a little bit of a selection of her. And I painted in this part here. Let me switch over here. So you can see this part here is now darker, and this over here is also darker. And this kind of is based a little bit also on taste, what you want the picture to look, stuff like that. And the difference also for that is that it highlights the person a bit more, right? Because when you don't have that like so, there's a lot of stuff going on in these areas that might take a little bit of your attention away. And so if this is darker, maybe this is a little bit too dark when I look at it right now. So we can limit this a little bit, reduce the opacity, go like this, for example, 50%. Now it's less dark, but it's darker and gives you a nice contrast for the hair and her to be more bright in the foreground, right? Then I did some dodge and burn on the hair and also on the skull. Now this is also a kind of taste thing where I'm not like, there's a lot of different things you can do with the picture, right? So when I do this dodge and burn, you can see here, for example, if you look at the hair, that the hair looks more has a lot more texture on it. It has these strands in it, right? You can really see the different how can I say, hair strands coming down. It has more structure in that way. But if you don't want that, you can also not do that and have this kind of softer hair that looks more uniform and more like everything is together, softer, more dreamy, you know? So this really depends on what you want to do. You can actually also single that out. Maybe if you put that on an extra layer and then do the skull separately, I can then turn this on and off separately. So that would probably make more sense. You can also see that here I made the inside here a little bit darker. And this is again to not take too much attention away from the face. So when we zoom out, the face is actually the brightest part, because before this part with the neck and here was quite bright compared to the rest. So it takes a lot of attention still. And here it's a little bit darker, so you don't look too much at that part. You more look at her face and the skull and then also the hands, right? And this is also the part where I did some more with the ear. And you can see here, if I turn this off, the ear is rather flat and doesn't have too much dimension in it. And then with the dodge and burn, you have some nice structure in here. And again, this is simply dodge and burn, where you simply paint on with like you make a normal pixel layer, set it to soft light, and then you take your brush, of course a smaller brush that is the right size, and you paint on that with everything between white and black on a gray level, and everything that is like you can see over here, luminosity level. If it's 50, it does nothing. You can see here 50. And it's over 50, it makes it brighter. And if it's under 50, it makes it darker, right? And so you just paint in different areas here. For example, when you look at here, when I turn this on and off, you can see that I made the rim of the ear up here, like the upper edge, a little bit brighter. And then below, I made it a little bit darker. And then I made it brighter again in the middle, and then darker again, and then brighter again. For the outside of the ear. And this is when you look at shadows, how they fall naturally on surfaces, you will see that a shadow always, or in most cases, is defined where you have the bright part, and then before it gets darker, before the shadow starts, it is already darker and then gets a little bit brighter, you know? And this is what's happening here. You can see in this area here, this is a little bit darker on the edge, and then it gets brighter again where the shadow area is. So the shadow is actually not the darkest part, but this line in between is the darkest part. So it's kind of interesting to understand that, to actually get a good shadow that way. Okay. Hi, DG Editing. How are you doing? Thanks for joining. Hi, Frank from Canada. Thanks for joining. All right. Yeah, so these are some things that I've done here for this picture in this last version. And then I tried to play around with different kind of overlays. And I'm still not sure where to go with this. Because like when I originally photographed it, I only was imagining this scene with the skull and these twigs in there. And it's a little bit, how do you say? Not a ceremony, but what do you do? Like, how are they called? Mystical things that you do, these kind of actions, when witches, for example, do their kind of outside in nature. What would you call that? That's I can't figure out the name, but you know what I mean. This kind of thing I had in mind. This kind of ceremony. A ceremony. Yes, that's what I meant. This is also why the skull has these leaves in the between the teeth, stuff like that. And so yeah, it could look a million different ways, right? Hi, Mike. Mike? Is it Mike? Yes, from Germany. How are you doing? Thanks for joining. Rituals. Rituals? Yeah, maybe also rituals. Yes, that could also be the case. All right. Yeah. And I feel like figuring out these colors and the emotion you want to have, that is one of the most important parts, basically, of photography, is that you, first of all, get the picture right, and then also find the colors, the expressions that kind of fit to the pictures, and limit the colors to 2 or 3 colors in the picture, not too many. And this is what you always see with when the picture doesn't work out too good. It's either the picture's not taken right from the composition, or like in the composition is always the thing where you don't know what to look at or what should you feel at that moment. And the second thing is that it has all kinds of different colors in there that don't lead you to any kind of specific feeling or emotion towards the picture. So both elements, when they come together, they kind of tell you a story. So maybe this is actually the best to leave it like that, because this is maybe a little bit confusing, especially with the skull in there, because it's a little bit darker from the expression emotionally, right? So, and this is also maybe too dreamy. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing. Okay, and this is, by the way, what we also have this week with the Pinterest board. So we can look at that now. Let me see. Have I think I've opened that up already, but I wanted to do this on a separate window first, so we don't have any content that shouldn't be there. Of course, when I do it here, 1 second. Okay, so this is the challenge. And then maybe I open this up again and put it on my second screen so I can open up the links. We can open up my link first, maybe, so we have something to look at. So I made you a kind of a demo link here. I hope everything works out. Okay. And so, oh, you can actually take notes. There's a new feature that is very useful. No notes on this board yet. Pinterest notes. Create your first note. Wow. Private to this board. Oh, okay, so notes are private. Okay, cool. So the exercise this week was that you create your own Pinterest board, right? And the idea behind that is that you, in this case, it was to figure out kind of works that you want to do, and what inspires you as a photographer, things you see yourself doing as a photographer in the future, right? Just to get inspired and see what other people are doing out there. And for that, it's a really good exercise to collect these things. Also to see how people work with the colors, with the light, with the poses, all these kind of things, what kind of outfits they have, all these kind of things. Because you can get a lot of information from that. A lot of art, a lot of creativity is to look at what other people do and figure out how you can integrate it in your own working process, in the sense of getting inspired by that and taking notes from that, right? So that is extremely helpful. And it's also a very important process because you are part of this discourse then. In the sense of, you can see this is a big conversation. Every picture that is posted online is part of a conversation where people say, look at this is how I would do that. And then other people do something similar and say, okay, look at this is my solution to the problem, right? This is my solution to this kind of creative question. And so in that sense, art is a form of conversation through works that people post online or show in galleries and stuff like that to inspire each other and to progress together. And it's not really a progress that always goes upward like you would expect from technology or something like that. It's more wherever the cultural interest goes from that time and from that society and all these kind of things, right? So it's not a straight line. It's it's more like a maze. Right? It's not even just one way, it's a million ways, and you can go into that direction today and then in another direction tomorrow. But to learn from these different concepts gives you a good view into how other people go about that and how they work with that, right? Okay, so let's look at some boards that you have created. Here's the first one from Nick. Let me have a look at that. Okay, that's good. So let's pull this over here. I'm just checking so there's nothing in there that shouldn't be on the stream, right? And so also I ask you to write a little story of what the idea behind that board is, because it's not possible to really understand the concept behind that if you don't know the thoughts behind it, right? Honey says, I will subscribe to your channel right now if your channel can teach me how to make quality YouTube thumbnails. I have a video about that. If you search my channel, there's one video about how to create YouTube thumbnails, right? Video backgrounds. Also be able to learn how to use Affinity as a beginner. Yeah, it should help you. You might, as a beginner, as a complete beginner, you might also check out Affinity Revolution. He does more beginner stuff. My stuff is a little bit more advanced, is what I was told. So check out both. Yeah, and there's also other channels if you want to check them out too, depending on what you want to do with your creativity, stuff like that, right? Also, if you want to find interesting backgrounds for your videos, check out Unsplash, check out FreePic, that's also a good one, and Pixabay might also be good, right? So you can find a lot of interesting abstract backgrounds for that, right? Okay, there we go. So let's have a look at what Nick is writing here. And he says, here's my board I was talking about. The mycoculture is the epitome of beauty and elegance to my mind, although I had to include Sailki Atsumi's death stare, not a girl to cross. Okay, interesting. I should love to do a vector art image from some of the examples here, but as I'm still learning Affinity Designer, I doubt it will be finished or worth seeing by Sunday. I see. Okay. Mycoculture. I've never heard mycoculture. Let me Google that real quick. Mycoculture. What is that exactly? Oh, Miyako. Is it called Miyako culture? Oh, there's different kind of things here. Oh God, I'm already lost. Oh no, there's Maiko. Ah, there we go, Maiko. Isn't a... Oh, that's interesting. A Maiko is an apprentice geisha in Kyoto and Western Japan. Their job consists of performing songs, dances, and playing the shamisen or other traditional Japanese instruments for visitors during banquets and parties known as osashiki. All right. Maiko are usually between the age of 17 and 20 years old and graduate to geisha status after a period of training, which includes learning to dance traditional blah, blah, blah. Okay, so these are apprentice geishas, basically. Geishas in learning. That is really interesting. Okay, cool. Wow. Okay. Nice. And you want to do this as vector art, not as photos, as I understand. I mean, that's also cool as photos. That would be nice. And see, this is what I mean. Like, this is the interesting thing. Never think that you can't do that, because the most important thing is to start and set yourself a goal and say, hey, I want to do that at some point. I want to work up to that. And now, the very important part about doing this first step to, for example, create this board on Pinterest is that when you have created that, you have a good idea of what you want to do. You can refine that idea. And starting from that idea, you can do then the planning steps of how to actually do that. And none of that is like impossible to do for you, right? For example, in this case, you maybe want to go to Japan, to Tokyo, or where was it? Kyoto. It was in Kyoto to take these pictures. So to figure out how long would it take to save up to get the money to fly there. But maybe you can also research. I'm pretty sure in your country there is groups of Japanese people who maybe also do that in their spare time. So you can meet up with them and take photos of them, right? There is maybe theaters or something who do these kind of shows. where they perform these musical performances and stuff like that to honor that kind of tradition. So maybe it's closer to you than you think. And so this helps you really to set up these steps. If you start out with a vision and say, yeah, I want to do that. That seems like something I want to photograph. And then I can plan all the things I need to do that, right? Which also includes gear, by the way, where you can really figure out if I want to do most of that photographically, what kind of things do you need? Because for this, you usually don't need a tele lens or something like that. You mostly need like a portrait lens, for example. So you can decide on what kind of gear you need. Do you want to photograph outside or inside, which is also important for the gear that you want to use. So that helps you a lot in deciding where you want to go, what you want to do with that. Thank you, Honey. That's awesome. Honey Medics, interesting username. Thank you very much. Okay, awesome. Right, so pretty cool. I really like the Japanese culture also. And I didn't know anything about these Maiko, yes? Maikos. That's pretty, wow. That is pretty cool here. Interesting. Yeah. Huh. Wow. The interesting thing here is when I look at them, they look all very similar. Is there kind of a uniform they have? Because they seem at first sight less colorful than the usual geishas that you see that have all kinds of color. But here, I mean, there is some who are different, like this one over here. But then there is a lot who have this kind of like white color and then a blue kimono, or I don't know what that's called. And you see a lot of that. You see here the white and the blue, the white and the blue, and here also white blue. This is red blue, but it's still kind of similar. So maybe that's kind of showing them as apprentice or something. I've also read something about this cushion they have, and at some point it has different meanings if it's in the back or is this in the front of them. I think some of them have it in the front, and that means something. It says, okay, she has this kind of status, or she's doing this kind of thing, and the other ones in the back, they have another status, something like that. I'm not sure. So that's really interesting to see that, to know these kind of things. And by the way, this is also an interesting thing. When you do these boards, you can do research about all the different elements that are included and how they are used and how they are expressed in the work. And this is pretty important when you start to set up your photo shooting or what you want to do. What kind of things do you need to bring there, and what kind of story do they tell, right? So, for example, if you look through this board that I've created, you look through that and you see like, okay, what kind of things might I be using? For example, here you see some candlelight. That's interesting. You see a lot of these models have these different kinds of horns on their head, and they have these flowers. And of course, there's a relation between the very pale skin and then the very like blooming flower. So for telling the story, right? And you see also when you look through most of these pictures, these are like really outstanding, these two from the colors, but the rest have very muted colors, mostly black, and then just one color in there that is outstanding. For example, here it's black and blue, and here it's black and brown. And over here it's black and red, so it's always just like these two colors, or basically one color, and then the rest is very dark for this kind of expression. So it's interesting. You can find a lot from creating these boards, right? Okay, let's go to the next board maybe. Okay. By the way, let me know in the chat if this is interesting. Wait, there, Pope has posted something. In Shinto, a Miko is a shrine maiden or a supplementary priestess. Miko were once likely seen as shamans. Really? That's so interesting. Wow. Okay, pretty cool. I like that in Japan they have this more alive culture in the sense that they still do these things. How can I say? Kind of hard to express, because we do have all these kind of, like, a lot of these things in Europe too, but it's not that alive anymore, you know? It's not that like celebrated anymore, if you know what I mean. And that kind of hides it a little bit. So that's interesting. Okay, let's look at the next board here. The next board is from Gregory. Let's have a look here. First of all, let's see what that is. Oh, that's completely different. Okay, that's interesting. And this is also what I wanted to see. Like, what are the interests in the community? So let's have a look here. Gregory is writing, here's my Pinterest board. As you will see, I have not yet defined a particular style I want to emulate. I have several interests, including woodland, minimalism, abandoned places, black and white architecture, artsy kind of thing. Still searching for my creative photographic self, but loving the journey. Yes, absolutely. And that's a great way to do that. Sorry, this is the board here from Greg, right? Gregory, right. Okay, good. And this is also the thing, like there's a million different things you can do photographically, and it's kind of hard to figure out what you want to do. But at the same time, it is very hard to get good at least at one thing, right? So you can be a really good architecture photographer, or you can be a really good portrait photographer, but it's rare that you find both because they require so many skills to know that you develop over the years. And of course, you can take a somewhat good architecture photo and a somewhat good portrait photo, but then you have to leave out all these little details that make up the works who are really good, you know? And so I think that's the big difference, because the hardest part of creating a good work is all the things you don't see in the finished work, all the preparations, all the thoughts that go into all the little details, all the how can I say, preparations to work up to that process. That's all the thing you don't really see in the work, but that which makes it a good work. And so focusing on one part is kind of important, right? So yeah, it's really interesting to see. Of course, there's a lot of variety in what we can do, what we want to do, what we're interested in. And it's the same with me. As you can see, I'm always like, okay, I want to do this a little bit. I want to do that a little bit. This is also maybe why my channel is a little bit unfocused, and I want to focus it more because I really have also the drive to say I want to get really good at one thing, right? It's right now it's good, but it's not as good as it could be. It can always be better, of course. But you always want to have this kind of drive where you say, okay, I want to go further with my journey. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. And very, like you said, very broad from the variety. There's some minimalist stuff in here, and some, yeah, like I say, art stuff, which is interesting. I think when I look at most of your stuff, it is driven by the patterns you have. This is basically the only one up here that doesn't really have a pattern in there. And most of the other things, like with the nature pictures you show here are less about nature than more about interesting forms and shapes that are almost sculpture-like, that are found in nature through these photos, right? So there isn't a photo where you see just a valley or just a landscape or just like a path dwindling down, I don't know, you know, like between meadows, and you see some cows and stuff like that. It's very much focused on interesting shapes and patterns and structures that are going on in nature, right? I mean, this is a little bit different with the paintings here, of course. But from the photos, also from the architecture photos, it's not just a house. You see with this and that and stuff like that. It's very much about the different abstract patterns that you find in there. So maybe that's something that connects your search of what you do, what you want to do photographically. And you also find that down here in these pictures where you see, I'm not sure, I wouldn't call this a portrait here. Would you call that a portrait? Maybe not. But this is also about interesting structures here, where she has the skirt up to the line of the building. So this is lining up. It's kind of generating a face, a smiling face. That's that's a bit strange. And here with the hat, that's also interesting. But again, it's more like a sculpture than a photo of a person, right? So maybe that's the thing that is driving you, right? I mean, for me, and I think you can see this in a lot of my works, it's mostly, how can I say, the cultural things and the structures inside of society that interest me, how people connect, how emotions are created in the strangest circumstances, and also in different cultures. It's always very different. I don't have an example right now, but just how can I say? Human culture, human society is a very interesting topic for me, and how people connect and how they exchange with each other to do things, to work together, to live together, stuff like that is pretty interesting to create works about that. And of course, these kind of pictures like this one is about that kind of thing, right? It is a lot about these kind of rituals that you have, this kind of culture, this kind of connection between society and nature, which you also have here with the skull. But then you have these twigs in the skull and the leaves in the mouth, and also between she's young and then you have a skull of a dead person. So there's a lot of connections between different elements on how society works and how culture works, and how we create the nature around us through these kind of processes, right? Because everything we know is created by our thoughts on how we think about things, right? Nature isn't like we perceive it, especially not how we perceive it today. We have a very positive idea of nature, while nature isn't that positive on its own, you know? It's not a place where you go to have a happy day. It's the fight for survival for every animal out there, right? This is why you will never see a relaxed animal. They are always like trying to hide or to run away, right? This is always dangerous for them. They can't just sit out there and have a nice day, right? Okay. Let's go to the next one. Thank you, Gregory. That was really interesting. The next one is by Rob. Oh, okay. Wow. Interesting. 1 second. Oh man, you collected a lot of pictures in here. So let's put this over here. Let's maybe close the other pictures. There we go. So what are you saying there? Did we? No, we have that. Okay, good. Let's see. Does the chat say anything? Social nature? Is it social nature? Maybe. Okay. Is it? Okay. I hope this is interesting with the boards right now, what we are doing. It's a little bit different from what we usually do, less the editing thing, but I think it's interesting to look into what people aspire to do. So Rob says, first off, interesting challenge after having created an account and having spent several hours browsing. Wow, okay. I've realized most images are added to the board are part of style of photography. I usually have... What? Board are part of styles of photography I usually have a go at. Nevertheless, the images are very inspiring to me, mostly clean, not cluttered images with lots of contrast. I reckon it's a good way to push myself to engage in some experimental photography more often. Update, I went out today in search of suburban abstract shots. Interesting. Okay, pretty cool. Did he? Oh, okay. So you already also took some pictures in that way. Awesome. That's great. Right. That's what I mean. So this is really inspiring, and then you can go out and try to do it similarly as per your discussion. Yeah, I understand. Right. Yeah, kind of social nature. Yes. Yeah. So who we are, and the reason I find it so interesting is because we create basically our whole reality around us by how we think about it, how we are raised, you know? And this is really interesting. This is how, when you talk to people from other cultures, they perceive reality completely different than you do. And it's nice to look at the different small differences because they make a lot, they make a huge part, and they stay often hidden because we don't look at them, right? So one example, we get to that board in a second. One example would be, for example, the difference between the German nature or the German culture and the Greek culture. So I come from both backgrounds, and in a lot of cases for the Greek culture, when you go there and they have, for example, I don't know, they have like this, what is called this sunroof, and the metal things, the metal structure of it is already rusty. And you ask the Greek person to say, why don't you like make this nice and shiny? And he's like, it works. Why? It's okay. It doesn't fall off. It's okay. Why should I fix that? And for the German mind, it's always like, you look at that and you can look at nothing else. You only see that rust up there. You can't really enjoy the day anymore because that thing is rusty, and you always think like, I have to fix that. It's like, it's not right. It's bugging me that there is a problem. And for the Greek mind, it's like, don't worry, it's good. It's as long as this thing doesn't fall on my head, it's okay. It's doing its job, you know. It's, why does it have to be pretty to do its job, right? And so, but this is a very, very different concept of how you go through your day and how you organize all your things around you. And if you never talked about that, you wouldn't realize that, right? So that's interesting. These kind of little things, and they make up a lot of what culture is around us. Okay, so let's have a look at the works. At the board of Rob. There we go. So this is a lot of abstract minimalist photography. If mostly it seems to be architecture. Oh no, there's other stuff too. Okay. You might want to look into the works of Hilda Becher, maybe. Okay, there's a lot of other stuff here. So this is again about abstract structures. Interesting. And some have more going on in the pictures. Most have a lot less going on, which is also what I like in pictures. You don't see it too much on what I've created so far with my channel, but I like this, how can I say, pictures where there's a lot of room, where you can put in yourself into that room. I always feel like if you have, for example, like this, there's this woman down here, and then there is this huge space here where not too much is going on. You have a lot of space as a viewer to just expand into that space yourself, because the picture isn't like stuffed with a lot of information. You have like more room to be yourself a little bit, you know, to decompress. So that might be interesting. You like the German Greek comparison. I hope nobody's offended by that, right? It's just like how I perceived it from being there, visiting my relatives, and also living in Germany. It seems like that, right? There, especially like when you have not been in Germany for many years and then you come back, you realize that even more, that in German culture, the principle is very important. And you don't find that often in other cultures, where in Germany, you often find the argument that you say, but why do we do it that way? And they say, because that's the principle. That's like how it's said to be done, you know? No, there's no other reason to do it like that. It's just because they say, because it's like that, you know? Because it's like, people say you have to do it like that, so that's it, you know? And that's really interesting. That's a different kind of concept, but it also has been very good for Germany too, you know? If you look at it from the way of inventions, or how the industry works, how the things they have done, you need this kind of precision. You also find that, by the way, in philosophy, if you compare German philosophy to French philosophy and to American philosophy, there is huge differences. The German philosophy is very precise, which also the language is very precise, so you have the ability to express it like that, while the French philosophy is more integrated in the everyday life. It's more like emotional, right? If you look at the texts from famous French philosophers, and when you look at American philosophy, you often find something that is more for example, something you don't find in Germany at all is pop philosophy or pop science. This is something you rarely find at all. But in America, you find that because, first of all, the language leads itself to that, to be more open to the society, because it has this kind of more open, but at the same time simpler structure, but also because the words can be expressed in a more playful way. You can, how can I say? you can do more with less in the English language, right? While in the German language, you can express very, very precise, but at the same time, things sound very strict. Just because of the language. You don't even mean it like that, but it sounds very strict, like, right? And the English language is more playful. You can spin one sentence in 50 different ways, and it's still okay. And you don't get offended that easily by what is in the words, right? It's more about how you pronounce them and the context they are in. So that's kind of interesting. And language defines a lot about how culture also works and how we do everyday things, right? So that's also interesting. Hi, George. How are you doing? Thanks for joining. All right. Sorry, let's go back to this is about culture. So this is actually not off topic. This is very much part of how we do, how art is created. And you can actually also find that if you look at the artworks that are created from these different cultures, based on these different cultures, they are in that kind of way, right? Like, for example, where important art movements come from. You can often see that they come from a cultural background that's kind of fitting that kind of thing. For example, pop art with comics and stuff like that, Roy Lichtenstein, Andy Warhol, stuff like that. Can you really imagine something like that happening in Germany? Not really, right? It's because, first of all, we didn't have this kind of advertisement in Germany back at that time, but also we don't in general have this kind of culture of pop art that is kind of this Andy Warhol kind of thing, right? But instead we have Beuys or Gerhard Richter, which are very clinical in their art and very precise, but also at the same time very expressive. You know, it's a very different approach to art, but also better fitting to what is happening at that time in that society, right? So there's a lot of connection between that. Der schöne Bart. Thank you very much, Isa. I don't know. I thought about the beard. I let it grow as long as it goes, and let's see where that goes. Although I get more and more situations where people greet me in Arabic on the streets and think that I'm a Muslim because of my beard, which is a little bit strange because a lot of hipsters also have long beards. So I apparently don't look like a hipster, or maybe not to everybody. I don't know. I don't want to look like a hipster. I'm not saying I want to. I'm just saying, why am I not confused with that? Rather, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? I'm also happy to be confused with a Muslim, although I'm not a Muslim. So I don't know how to react to that, you know? I don't speak the language, so I don't know what to say in that moment. With a hipster, they speak my language, so I can reply to that. So that's a little bit easier, maybe, if you know what I mean. Please write in English, Carlos, because I don't speak Spanish. I learned Spanish, but I don't speak it. Not yet. Okay, let's go back to the pictures. So, yeah, very interesting. Oh, by the way, we wanted to look at Hilda Becher. 1 second. Hilda Becher. It's a couple. I always, Hilla Becher, not Hilda, sorry. Bernd and Hilla Becher. I always forget the, I only can remember her name. But we can look at these works here. And they became very famous with these pictures of these industrial structures here. So they made very like clean, reduced pictures of these structures and put them into these collages here, basically, and also from these houses here, stuff like that. And that was their kind of artistic work. I like their work. I have never read anything about them, so I can't tell you why they did that. But it's interesting. It's a lot about industrialization, I guess. So it's an interesting work. And it's also kind of pointing out, like, it's interesting to look at, I guess these are all water towers, how much culture, how much expression is still in these buildings who are actually only there for an industrial purpose, for a mechanical or whatever you want to call it purpose, to make something happen. But then they have these designs still. They don't need them, but they have them. And that's kind of, maybe that's part of their work. I'm not sure, but it's really interesting to look at that, right? Okay, let's go back to the board. Yeah, so that's pretty cool to look for these abstract structures. And another thing that is interesting with these boards, and I think this is also what he pointed out in his text, Rob said that he realized his interests in the in photography through collecting these works is that when you didn't organize it ever in your head and you didn't write down or collect it in any way before, you might not know that you have a very clear how can I say, interest in one part of photography, and then you have a little bit of interest in other parts, but you have a very big interest in one part, right? And you might not realize that, and this collection makes it a lot easier with these Pinterest boards, because you collect, let's say, 100 pins or something, and then you see, oh, most of the pictures have something in common. Most of the pictures have some kind of style or colors or expression or subject or perspective that is common in them, and this is the thing that you like most. So you can maybe focus your interest mostly on that and try to drive and get better at that kind of thing, right? Ein Mann mit Bart ähnelt einem Löwen. Okay, so Isa writes, a man with a beard is similar to a lion, which is, by the way, my chosen animal, spirit animal. How would you say that? Where I see, this is how I see myself, as lion. Like not the lion, but more the cozy lion who is sleeping. Right, okay. Yeah, so this is really interesting. I also like these kind of abstract works. That's pretty interesting. Very much, a lot of that is about architecture, which, oh, this is a cool work here. I love this. When they like, how do you say, destroy a house, they pull down a house, and then you see these parts of the room still stuck to one side of the other house that's still standing, and so you have a little bit of a cut through that, like an anatomy of what was there. And also you have a look at these past lives and cultures that have been there over the times, over the generations, to see that, to have a little look inside of strangers' lives. And it's a little bit like a painting hanging on the wall, right? There's this slice of their life, but an actual slice, not a photo or a film, but an actual slice with real parts of that have been part of their life for, I don't know, decades maybe. I really like that. That's interesting. Also, I think this is an artwork because they probably don't leave these things hanging like the toilet and stuff. Also, this toilet is way too high next to the sink, so this has to be an artwork, but still pretty cool. Very nice. Oh, you have to go. Thank you very much for watching, Pope. Thank you. Awesome. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And also the cool thing here is when you collect these works, you will realize that over time you will find several works of similar artists, right? Because they get pinned a lot, and you can find out a lot about them when you click on that, and you can maybe find out for example, this is a Flickr link here, so you can maybe find out who was the photographer. So this says Cuba Gallery, and you can, oh my God, come on. Save and exit. Why do we need this? That's so unnecessary. Okay, so this says Cuba Gallery, so maybe you can find out more about that and the things they're doing. So you also create a network of connections to a lot of different other things where you maybe can connect to other people or to interest groups, or you can read up about the artists and why they did that picture. So this is a super good starting point to get a lot of information about the art you want to do. By the way, another thing, if you start out like that and you say, okay, this kind of abstract thing is my direction that I want to go, and maybe you find out some words here. For example, a lot of this is called minimalist photography. So you can find out, you can go to Google and you type in famous minimalist photographers. And the cool thing here is you get this list here, which is really amazing. First of all, so you get started already out with some names. I don't think these are photographers, but so maybe that's not the best example here. Frank Stella is minimalist artist, so this doesn't really help. Yves Klein did some photo work, but he's also a painter. So this, why is it listed under photographers? I mean, they did some photographic work. Is also a painter? I don't know. But usually, okay, this is a bad example. But what I mean by that is when you click on this, for example, on her here, and you look here on this little profile, you get other stuff here where it says people also search for, and sorry, these are often related people from the artistic style, from the artistic period, stuff like that. So you can click on that and you get even more of a list here, and you can go through that and research and build up a network of different artists that you can read about and research what they did, stuff like that. This didn't work out because most of them are painters, but in another case, I'm pretty sure it works out. Like, let's go famous American photographers. Or let's go famous Japanese photographers. Japanese photographers. Let's see what we get here. There you go. So these are all people I probably have never heard of, but they are famous Japanese photographers. And so now, in an instant, you have a list of people that are probably, if you read books about Japanese photography, their names will pop up all the time. And now you can just click here. And again, you have this little profile here, and then you see some stuff down here. For example, this guy, you probably know Araki. He's really famous with his erotic photography as a fine artist, of course. So you have even more names here that you can go through. So this is very, very useful to do that. Now I'm off on Sundays because of my new job. I can now start to watch your stream. Hey, that's awesome. Hi, Zane. How are you doing? Okay, so I would start here with Pinterest and then go over to Google and do this kind of search. And then within an afternoon, you can have a really big understanding of the direction you want to go in and the artists who are most famous in these kind of directions, to read up on why they do, how they do things, what is their most important work, stuff like that, right? So it's pretty cool. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things here. The one thing that I'm seeing here in your work, when you look at that, is that not only you're interested in these abstract structures, but a lot of your pictures include abstract light situations. That's different from what George has been doing. So when you look down here, for example, with this picture here, this one, or this one here, or this one here. A lot of these abstract structures are created by light. Also here, when you look at this, the main element here is the shadow of this handrail. So that's also an interesting element. Again, here you can see a lot with the light that's happening, and also with these more colorful things like these night photos here and these night photos here. You can see, like here, when you look at that, it creates structures through the light that is seen in the fog at night, right? So that's interesting. And by the way, here's another cool thing about Pinterest. First of all, when you click on that, you have this up here, and when you scroll down, you see other things that are similar. So this is a good way to find things, to find additional things for your board. And also what you have is this little icon here. When you click on that, you can single out areas in the picture. You see, I have this selection box here, and I can single out this, and it will search for me similar pictures. You can see how many pictures I suddenly find who all are visually like that. So this is a really good way to go deeper into a subject that you want to research, right? So that's a really good tool for that. Okay, pretty cool. I really like your interest in the minimal art, and have a look at these things of light and shadow. Again, you can see here, this is created by light and shadow. This is also created by lights. So that seems to be an important part of your interest in the works. So yeah, have a thought about that. I think we can trust the other boards. We don't have to preview them. Oh, there we go. Okay, more the painting style, but still interesting. This is more the Okay, my brain. I was like it was on the tip of my tongue and now it's gone. It's called the num 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 num. Damn it, I lost the word. We talked about this in the last stream. Okay, it might surrealism. There it says right there, surrealist paintings. Sorry. Okay, yeah, surrealism. Interesting. By the way, you want to research surrealism on its own because this, like these kind of things that are more like Dali, they are very famous for that style. But surrealism in its own is actually a lot darker. So I think Dali was like the happiest version of that, the most version that is very colorful, very close, like to, how can I say? It's just very happy from everything, and then. There's a lot that is much darker. Let's have a look here. Surrealism. Let's go here. Shale etchings. Is it that? Yes. This is by Piranesi, which is actually famous for completely other things, but he has this collection of works that's called The Imaginary Prisons. And these are actually really awesome works to look at, but they are very dark. And it's this kind of endless prison that is, how can I say, very dystopian and very strange. And there's a lot of these works also from other artists. And it's also this kind of very like overwhelming architectural structures that go nowhere. They don't really have a purpose in themselves, and they are just structures there to be prison structures, right? And that is very, very strange. I've seen them in, I think, as originals in Berlin in a surrealist exhibition. And that was really eye-opening to see that you have all these other dimensions of surrealism also. It's not just this happy part. And a lot of surrealism is also about nightmares, which you also find in Dali's works. Although they look very happy, it's more about this kind of nightmarish worlds also, where you get lost inside. So yeah, it's interesting to also think about these parts, right? Yeah, pretty interesting. And of course, you can do this also as a photographic work. It's more involved. You have to do more steps, of course, and more editing afterwards. But you can do really cool things with that. Yeah, and the interesting thing is like a lot of these works look very, how can I say? Like just like a dream someone has who's taken drugs, right? And so they seem like pretty meaningless and just playful and just like, okay, someone is just doodling around with stuff. But as a matter of fact, they often have very deep meanings on what they are about, or what they how can I say, that at least the topics they are handling, right? So that's also interesting to think a little bit about that. Like if you look at the works, what is the meaning of what can you see in these works? What kind of expression do they have? What kind of topics do they handle as works? That's pretty interesting, right? To figure that out, because this gives you a lot more information about what you want to put into the work. Oh, this is one of the works I also really like. It's not, I mean, it's interesting that you have that in here, but it's also very cool with the flowers. I'm still figuring out where to get all these kind of flowers. If I maybe just have to like bite the bullet and buy all of them, or maybe I can go to a flower store and say, hey, if you throw them away, I can come there and pick them up before you do, maybe, and make a picture of that. They don't have to be the freshest flowers. I just need a lot of them, right? And this would be rather expensive to buy all of them fresh. So pretty interesting that there is also this kind of interest in the community. Wow. Oh, by the way, we forgot to read what you have been writing. 1 second. So you said, first of all, alerting me to the challenge. Now I have created a board. We'll use it more often here. So, okay. So you didn't write much about why you created the board. Okay. Yeah, but it's really interesting. And these imaginary worlds are, how can I say, it's a really interesting way to also think about, or to have a better picture, a different picture of the culture of our everyday culture, right? And why we work, why we function in a certain way. So that's really interesting. Like 2 days ago, I was walking outside and I was thinking about, why did I die? Why do we see the world so different when we are children? Because everything is more adventurous and everything seems bigger and everything seems like you have more wonder at that moment. Everything is more exciting. And then I thought, when I look to the end of the street and I think like I can only go like to the next 3 houses, but after that, around the corner, something evil is waiting. I can't go there. My parents have told me not to go there because I might get lost, something like that. And if I imagine this today, that, for example, you look at all the houses around you and you think, I can't go in there. This is off topic. This is not off topic, sorry. This is off limits. You can't go in there. I can't go further from my home than 2 or 3 streets alone, stuff like that. And suddenly everything around you seems a little bit more, how can I say, dangerous, impressive, adventurous. You know what I mean? You suddenly feel like, oh, I don't know what's happening there, right? So it comes a little bit back. Of course, you have your awareness as an adult that you still can do these things and there's no danger there actually. But if you try to imagine it a little bit, it comes back where you feel a little bit again like a child, you know, and that's really interesting. And at the same time, I thought that's kind of taking a little bit the wonder out of the world, that you can travel wherever you want. There's no limits. If you want to be at that place tomorrow, you have to have the finances to go there, but you can. Nothing is holding you back. And at that place there is no danger. You can just be there, right? You go into a plane and the next thing you know, you eat sushi in Tokyo and there is no danger, while as a little kid you can't do that, right? And this of course takes a little bit from the wonder, because there's no place where actually something is like completely different, right? So that's interesting. Okay, thank you very much, Raimund, for that board. Oh, that's already like the last board. Oh, okay. So Chuan is also here. She says, here is mine, had a problem with the internet. Oh, I'm sorry. I live in a remote area where the internet is not always working well. I have created one landscape photography, which is my passion. Let's have a look at that. Oh, there we go. I think we have to also click on that. Ah, there we go. Yes. Interesting. Okay. So these are very colorful nature pictures. Also interesting. Different kind of style. This was also something where I was thinking maybe I should do this more on my channel, but I'm not sure. Because of course I like these colorful things. And this is also the thing, like, again, you need different equipment. If I would decide to do more of this, like myself, to present on the channel, I need equipment like that, right? And that's also a kind of large investment. And the other things that I showed you before that need studio equipment, for example, or you need to build these outfits and all these kind of things, that's also money investment, right? So you have to think about, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? What kind of direction do I want to go? And also, you need a lot of experience to do these kind of things. So that's pretty interesting, pretty cool. Very nice pictures. Yeah. And so that's more like an ideal nature, very cozy a concept of nature also, with all these kind of playful, dreamy animals, which is cool, which is absolutely interesting. And a large part of nature photography is like that. And of course, this requires a certain kind of how you take the pictures, how you edit the pictures, compared to others that are maybe showing more drama in nature, if you know what I mean, or want to have more of a, for example, if you want to take more photography of how can I say, catastrophes in nature, you know, storms and thunder and all these kind of things, you would need to photograph and edit them completely different than this, which is very playful and happy as the editing. So that's pretty cool. Very nice. Yeah, I like how this is embedded into the foreground with all this blur in the front, in the back, and then you get this crispness in the middle. At the same time, you have the feeling that everything is very soft because of the soft surrounding. So that's pretty cool. Very nice. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Pretty cool. And again, if you collect these pictures, like for example in this case, you can see that they often have the similar colors in there. So you often have this very warm orange and yellow in there, and then you have these pink and blue tones when it comes to the sky and the skylight. And so you probably want to figure out how do you create this kind of taste of colors in here, right? If you look at these three pictures here, this kind of colors here, and this here, and this is kind of similar. You see, you have this kind of, how can I say, violet tones in there and blue tones. Of course, this is a little bit teal also from the colors, so it's not completely the same. But also here you have these kind of violet and blue tones in here. So to figure out how do I create these kind of tones in my picture, and also these warmer tones, these kind of warm orange, a little bit whiskey kind of tones. If you figure out how to create them for your pictures, you're already a long way ahead of what you want to create for the expressions in the picture. So this is also an interesting way to think about these boards, that you figure out what kind of workflow do I need? What kind of tools do I need for that? What kind of, maybe I can create LUTs for myself, or I can create templates that already have the adjustments in there. So I pull in the picture. So you can set up a process that makes you over time better and better to create these specific looks that you want to have in there. And as you can say, they have similar kind of values in them to just figure out how you would do that on the software side at home, but also how you would do that on the photographic side. What kind of things do you need to have in the picture? For example, from the daytime, from the exposure that you're using in your camera, stuff like that, to get this set up in a way so you can get these values out of the picture afterwards, right? Yeah. And you can see, like in most of these pictures, they are photographed at a similar time of day. It's either sunset or sunrise. And with these animal pictures, you can see that most of them are photographed at an overcast day. So you get these very soft shadows on the face. You see here, everything is very soft. There is no hard shadow under the chin or anywhere else on the fox. So this is probably overcast day. And you see this on these other pictures here too, like this one and this one. Both of them are photographed at an overcast day. So this again, at that point, you know, if I want to photograph the beach, I have to go out at the morning to get this kind of light set up and to get this kind of colorful sunlight in the sky and on the beach in the reflection, right? And then if you want to take the animal pictures, you know, you only have to go out when there's an overcast day, so you get this kind of softer light and this kind of nice light situation. Because if you would photograph the same picture, but it would be during a very hot sunny day, it wouldn't look like that. The light would be very hard on that. Of course, you can edit it afterwards, but still looks different because you have a lot more contrast and a lot of hardness in the fur, for example, and all the other details. So this gives you a lot more control over where you want to go when you have a good understanding of what is it you actually want to do photographically. And this is why these boards are pretty nice for that, right? Okay, enough of the talk. What do you use to edit photos? Well, like mostly Affinity Photo. My workflow is that I start out with Photolab to do the raw adjustments. Then I go into Nik Collection, where I use Viveza to adjust the different lights and shadows in the picture. I look at Nik Color Effects to see some artistic ideas of what you can do and maybe do some adjustments in there. Then I go to Affinity Photo to do the all the adjustments and special effects and all these kind of different layers, dodge and burn, all this kind of stuff. And that's basically it most of the time. Sometimes I create some overlays or some other stuff with Filter Forge or some special effects like a paint effect or some other effect that I need. So that's useful. But that's basically it, right? At the moment, I'm also looking at other tools, of course. But this is at the moment, this is my workflow to go through, right? So the picture is mostly set up when I have it in Affinity Photo, and then I do all these kind of effects with the hair and all these kind of things that need these tools and the filters and all that kind of stuff to create that. This is why Affinity Photo is really important in the workflow still, although I do a lot of the preparation to get the picture right in Photolab and in Nik collection, right? Okay. Whew. Let's switch over to the talk view for a bit. There we go. Oh, there was a lot of talking this time. Let me pop out the chat so I can see what you're writing. Yeah. That's it. So I hope that was interesting. I really like the boards to see what kind of different interest is. There's a lot of variety in the community, which is also interesting. I thought that more people would create boards, to be honest, but maybe it was a little bit too confusing on how to do that. But I really want to encourage you to still do that. Even if you can still post them in here if you want to. Did people post something in the meantime that I haven't seen? 1 second. Let me refresh this real quick. Because it really helps. And I would really also suggest that you do that as a preparation for works individually. So you say, okay, I want to do this kind of photo shooting. How have people done that? What kind of pictures? For example, let's go back to the 1 second. I will show you this again. Let's switch over here. One second. So you have this fox picture here. And again, scroll down here and you see a lot more fox pictures. And then also, again, use this here and then single out a part that's interesting to you and look for similar pictures. And the importance of that is that you get now, okay, this is just showing one picture. Wow, okay. There we go. It's not too many pictures this time. Okay. Okay, that's a bad example, but you know what I mean. So the important thing here is that this gives you a lot of ideas on how people took that picture, because you can take it like this, that's okay, but you can also take it like this or all these other versions of that. And that's kind of important to get an understanding on how you can take a certain picture in a lot of different ways and what kind of expressions they give you, right? So you can see when you compare these pictures here, for example, these two pictures here, this one and this one, they have a very different expression. You can see, for example, this one is a lot more dynamic and it's more in the motion of, how can I say? You see that he's in the process of sniffing something in the air and he's walking around maybe searching for something, while this guy here is more like relaxing in the light and the sunlight and just having a nice day. So they have a very different expression, although they look very similar, right? And to figure that out is also something that you can learn over time by taking your own pictures, but also researching that in how other people take these pictures gives you a lot of a head start on how to think about this. Of course, in nature, you don't have a model where you can say to the fox, hey, stand like that. But in a lot of other situations, you can do that, right? Where you can just have a good preparation when you work with a model or you go to a location, for example. Then it's Palm Sunday today. I didn't know that. Okay. Happy Palm Sunday. Is it really today? Is that? I don't know. Ah, yes, it is. Okay, happy Palm Sunday to everyone. I didn't know that. Okay. So this is also what I'm doing for preparation. For example, if you go to a location and you want to take a picture of a building, you can look at that building. You can search for that building on Pinterest and then just search for like 20, 30 different pictures on how other people have photographed that. Because the thing is, when you go there, when you see it on the internet, the picture looks amazing, but then you go there and of course it doesn't look like that because you look through your eyes, not through the lens of your camera, and the picture isn't edited. You just see like real life, and real life is very different. It's very trivial and doesn't have this amazing wow effect in most cases. So to figure out where do you need to stand, what kind of day, in which direction do you need to photograph, what kind of dynamic do you want to have in the picture, to prepare all of that beforehand can give you a lot better results. And even if you want to do it completely different than in these pictures, you have already a good idea on what a different kind of locations can give you and what kind of dynamic they have. And also a really important part is, hi Jason, thanks for joining. An important part of that is that often a good often a good photo is defined by what you put between the subject and the photo. What you put between the main subject you want to photograph and you, right? So there is a little bit extra, right? And so that's also an interesting part to think about. You can look at also at different videos online on YouTube where people try to figure out a location, how they do that. And it's a really interesting process also. But when you look at these pictures, you often, for example, you find things you didn't even know are there. Maybe they are not even there in actuality because they just put them into the pictures beforehand. But let me switch over again here for a second. Work view. So for example, I made this collection, and you can see last time I made photos of this house. So I searched for interesting architecture in Vienna, and then I found this. And of course my pictures are different, but first of all I found this house I didn't even know that exists. And then I got a good idea that because if you stand on the other side, that house is really boring from the other side. And if you go to that side of the building, which is interestingly enough not the thing you see first when you approach that building, so you have to go to the back of the building to see this, and this is really amazing to see that. But also look at this picture here. Where is it? This one. This is Vienna, and then here in the background you have here, this is our how to say, Rathaus, the building. Oh my god, my English is so bad today. Town hall. That's a town hall. Is it a town hall? Maybe it's not. No, it's not the town hall. I thought it's a town hall. What is that? Wait a second. This is not the town hall. This is the town hall, which is like the most amazing town hall I've ever seen in any city. Look at that. This is the town hall. Like normally, what do you think? Like a boring building where like they do, I don't know what. This is like a castle. This is like, wow. But apparently this is not the town hall. But I've never seen these things here in Vienna and that in the background. So I have to research where that is. I thought it's a town hall. Interesting. But I mean, that looks pretty cool. It looks a little bit like London, but it seems to be Vienna. And we can click here. Maybe we get a better idea of what that is actually. Oh no, okay, so this doesn't. Oh, there we have it again here. This has to be some kind of church. Never mind. I have to figure that out. Interesting. But I mean, that's the cool thing. You find out a lot about your own city and cool locations and how people have photographed that. So again, like this perspective is pretty cool. And then you scroll down here and you find probably more pictures like we have seen a second ago from the same location. There's another one, there's another one, there's another one. So you can see how people photographed it and what time of day and what time of year and stuff like that. So to get a really cool impression, although these are very similar. I mean, this is pretty different though. Okay, anyways. Let me switch over again. So this is one of the biggest parts of photography, is to figure these things out. Gothic style building. Is it Gothic style? Really? I think it's more like, it's because Gothic is rather heavy, right? I don't think this is Gothic. It's more like the Romantic age, stuff like that, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not an architecture guy, and especially I'm not sure with periods. I'm really bad with periods. So, Motivkirche. That's it. Really? Wait a second. Oh. Wow. Okay, and now I know kind of where this is taken. Oh, that's interesting. Let's switch over again. Sorry. This is the Motivkirche here, which is pretty cool. And I only know it because there's a park in front. So the Motivkirche, on the left side here, there is the university. And so all the students come out at the summer and sit here in this park and party there. All afternoon long, basically. And this is how I know this church, but I only know it from the front. I've never seen this kind of side view with these lamps. So, I mean, you can see how this looks a lot less romantic than this thing here, which is like really completely different. Interesting. But now from the position of the towers, you can kind of figure out where these lights are and then go there and take a similar picture. So that's pretty cool. Very interesting. Thank you very much for that. I had no idea. Votivkirche, pretty cool. All right. There we go. Yeah, so this research is really a big part, a very interesting part of... Why are there so spammy people today in the chat? I don't know what's going on. Put on timeout. There we go. It's probably not a viewer of my channel. Let's do this also. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. Yeah. So that's it for today. Okay, we are at 2 hours, so that's pretty okay. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know. And I think next week we will do another exercise, and I will, by the way, I will also keep you up to date on my travel plans, if that's happening or not, and how well these things are working out. And then my idea, my hope is that I can be on the road and create interesting content for you and take these pictures and show you how I edit them, and just be in different cultures. Like this time it's just one country, but it's like a test. It's a little test bubble to see if that would work. And also maybe meet photographers from that background. By the way, if you're in Thailand right now, if you live there, let me know. Maybe we can meet up and do something together. That would be really interesting. I will do a post about that in my Facebook group also. So yeah, that would be pretty cool. Whew, right. Good. So that was it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next live stream and also in the next tutorials. And of course, the next creative pack is coming on Tuesday. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye.